All right, shut up. Let's get started.
Strong lyrics, but
Welcome to the kitchen table. My name is Riley Bloom.
thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for having me as well.
You're welcome. You're welcome. My name is Riley Bloom. This is Aiden. Ron. Austin's over there.
Wait, he gets a last name.
I
The
know.
rest of us are like Cher.
Bloom, and Andrews.
I'm like Madonna,
No, you're not.
Tupac?
Tupac. That's two names.
That is two names.
It's two names.
Wait, that's actually two names?
I think so. I think it was a derivative of Tupac because he would show up with 2 packs of beer.
No, that's his name.
I've
The
always
2-pack is two things, but the Tupac, like his actual name, the TUPOC or something like that.
Tupac, make it sound like chicken pox.
It's
I know.
2PAC, first of all.
PAC.
Yeah, there's an A.
Yeah.
What about Prince?
And his email
What are we talking
is-
about? Okay. So, today we are talking about, and, excuse the French for a second, but unbitchifying.
French.
French.
I didn't know you spoke French.
I know. It's quite impressive, isn't it? Okay.
We.
So what do we mean by that? You were talking about it when we
You
were in the
said it.
kitchen
We
earlier.
don't mean anything. So
Yeah, you brought it up.
you best explain it because I'd like to know.
Thank you. Okay. I don't know. We were talking about we had a couple instances lately where certain things have happened, and people seem to be having a hard time adjusting to. Well, a lot of things recently. COVID's going on, so people are having a hard time adjusting to life as COVID is now, and other people are having a hard time adjusting to just growing up. A few examples, just people we've known forever, just changing up and acting different just because they get older and certain responsibilities come up. Something we noticed a while back, it's funny. A lot of people nowadays, they start having kids, and this is just relevant to me because I'm about to have my kid. It's on the way, due in August.
My kid.
My kid.
My kid.
But they start having kids, and it's like that's the only thing they can focus on too, and like they just kind of drop off of everything else we've been doing recently, and that happens with
You know what's funny to me?
a ton of people.
Speaking about kids, and so if you ever do this, just know that I will put my foot somewhere where it's going to be uncomfortable.
Nice.
People do this a lot. They say, well, the reason I show up late all the time
Is
and the
because-
reason I
yeah.
have to be irresponsible all the time is because I have children. Like the rest of us never had children.
Yeah, and still had to show up on time and do things.
And I
yeah.
hate to sound like my grandfather, but I had children and we showed up on time.
Yeah.
I had children and we handled our responsibilities. I had children and we went to work every day.
And so that's what we're talking about, right? Is how to be
Stop making excuses for being a
responsible.
boy.
Yeah, and grow up. Whether you're a man or a woman, just start to grow up.
Well, if you're making excuses for being a boy and you're a woman,
It is 2021.
maybe we should get Joe Biden involved.
Maybe he
He
can
seems
smell
to
What
you.
about
be an
Kamala?
expert on the subject.
Wait, is it Kamala or Kamala? I'm still
Kamala.
confused.
I
It's
have it in
Kamala?
writing.
You
Yes,
do?
I was given that script.
Okay.
Kamala.
Kamala.
Also,
Kamala.
by getting it wrong, you're a racist, so just be aware. Yeah.
Yeah, well, she
Oh, well,
didn't
that's-
say that to me, but
We're not getting it wrong. We're asking to be informed.
Yeah, I'm
That's different.
So you're requesting knowledge.
I am
Yeah.
requesting knowledge, and I am stating that I'm ignorant and I need help.
Trying to get more woke.
ignorant.
That is the first step to moving away from your whiteness. Congratulations.
Yes.
Be less white.
Acknowledging that
Ask
I am
Coke.
white.
All right,
So back to the subject
the subject.
at hand, which I know your French may have confused people,
Yeah, or scared them.
but
Oui.
here's a funny thing too. You said that COVID kind of brought this out, and this COVID issue is. Here's I think one of the things that
I think COVID just gives people a really good excuse.
gives me a lot of excuses for a lot of
Yeah.
things, like not working. So here's one thing that though I don't think we recognize is there's never been a moment during quote unquote COVID that everything has been at an even level. The
Yeah.
rules have changed constantly. The hysteria has changed constantly. And now, I mean, we got states going fully open right now. There's people that are just like, this needs to be over now. So a lot of people are still freaking out about COVID and wanting to abide by all the rules. Other people are absolutely over it. So one of the things that I guess I'm just pointing out right now is there's never a spot where you get to stop and go, this is level. If I hit this mark, then I'm level and I can hit cruise control and I'm good. No, that level doesn't exist. It doesn't exist culturally. It doesn't exist socially. It doesn't exist spiritually. It doesn't exist in your family life. It exists nowhere.
It exists in cars.
What?
For a brief moment in time.
Cruise control. It exists in cars.
I just want you to know you're petting your computer.
I know. It happens.
Yeah. Can we not touch the computers?
Austin, do you have anything to add at this point?
Only that I feel like they booby trapped the table because I got a splinter when I was petting it earlier. So
He was just in here earlier, pre-cameras, petting the table. Don't worry about it, okay?
it's none of your business, bro.
Underneath this fine red checkered exterior it is a mess.
Riley cut it.
It's a splintery mess.
Yeah.
Come on.
Riley
So-
made it.
That's messed up, bro.
It is messed up. You should see it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
I worked hard on that.
yeah. So first of all, just so the folks at home, just so the folks out there know, what is all y'all's ages and stages in life? Like, give a little brief bio as to why this is an important topic to you personally. It has to be a personal issue to you, otherwise this discussion is stupid.
All right. Let's start with Aiden.
Start with Aiden. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm 20 years old.
And on camera for
And
the
on
first
camera.
time.
Well,
First time.
Second time.
Second time.
Cookies.
You ate cookies on
I did
camera.
eat cookies.
Yeah.
I'm 20 years old. I kind of have an AA.
Kind of.
I passed. I just didn't receive it yet because
COVID.
I haven't reached out to the college yet. Anyway, I'm working Monday through Thursday, 6:30 to 4, and soon we'll be working also on the weekends, either swing shift or night shift. So working possibly 6 days a week at weird hours.
6 days a week, and one of the days is a double.
Sadly. So, I'm also about to get married. Well, I'm getting married this year. It's later this year. I don't know about to get married. It sounds like next month. It's in November. Starting my family soon, obviously, and I'm trying to grow up. I'm working at it. I'm, 1 foot at a time.
So when you say that, what is trying to grow up?
My man got 2 jobs. All right. I got 2 jobs. And I work for the church most of the time. So I got 3 jobs. One of them doesn't pay me. And just keep going along and just having fun and not look dead and still show up to church and still show up to family functions and
Is that
still
a
show
dig,
up
bro?
a little bit. Still show up to family functions.
He didn't look at you. You just identified with that
Nah,
remark.
he looked right at me when he said, he gave me that little eye flick, looked right at me, like, looked too dead.
I'm going to be working a lot, but I don't want to check out of life. I still want to live my life, and I'm just
Yeah.
going to be a little less at full energy, but I still got to do it because I'm not about to check out of everything that I know and love.
Yeah.
So
That's a good thing. Part of growing up is dealing with stress and not
having your hair fall out.
that's not what I'm saying. But when you said showing up and looking alive and awake, there's a lot of people that you say, "Hey man, what's going?" You see it all over their face. What's going on? Why are you so bummed out? Why are you're dragging so hard? Why are you being such a turd to everybody else? Oh man, I had to work this week. Are you serious? Now, again, some people, their emotional bucket, man, if they went to work one day this week, they're overloaded, and other people, it's much higher than that. But it's still bizarre that people will show up and they're like, "Oh yeah, man, I had to work yesterday." I was like, honestly, what business is that of mine?
Yeah, are you at work right now?
Do you and say in a church setting or in a social setting, do you know what everybody else in this room has had to deal with? Do you know what everybody else in this congregation, this group has had to deal with? Do you know who has cancer here and who has been in chemo all week? And you're dragging ass because you had to go to work?
Yeah.
it's a really part of maturing, part of growing up is handling your stress levels and not treating your wife like garbage, treating your kids like garbage, treating your community, your church members like, you know what I mean? Anybody you're involved with like garbage because you're going through something.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean we got to hide everything and we can't say, hey, I need a little help, I need an encouragement, whatever it is. I think you should do that. But some people, man, it's just they're just bleeding all over everybody constantly. It's like, man, you're killing everybody. You need to grow up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know. What about you? Where are you at?
So I've been married almost 2 years now. That's crazy. We're coming up on 2 years. Got a baby on the way. My wife's 4 months pregnant. I'm currently doing that exact shift that Aiden was just talking about that he was going to be picking up. Just replace Monday through Thursday with Tuesday through Friday.
Plus weekends.
Yeah, most weekends. And I'm just about to get a new job where I'm going to be working 31 days a month. So, just busy working hard. Doing what I can to just try to start moving things. We were talking about this earlier today. That, I'd love for myself to have some amazing talent or some amazing thing to happen to me. But right now it's I gave myself a couple years to try to find something cool to do or finish school or something like that when me and Kate first got married. And it was just, nothing really came of it. And so now it's just kind of work hard and pursue those things. That's kind of what we're doing here. Got a few other hobbies and passions I like, going to church, and stuff like that, and doing stuff with Kate, traveling. Still do all of those things, but, just work hard while doing all of those things.
Yeah.
Baby on the way. I haven't missed a single doctor's appointment yet, though.
You ever have anybody ask you, why do you have to work so hard?
Yeah.
Shouldn't you not work so hard?
Yeah, some people, they do ask that, or they like to ask you, maybe you should have some time to chill or relax. And I agree with that, but at the same time, I don't plan on doing this for the rest of my life, what I'm doing right now. In my head, at least, I've set an end date for at least, this specific job. There's an end date in my head. But I know that for right now, say, it's the next 5 years. We'll say that, 10 years, whatever. All right, if I work super hard in that time, I could set myself up to not be working so hard. Maybe later in life, when my kids are a little bit older and we can go do some cool stuff.
And you're old and frail.
Yeah.
Well, and the job you picked up too, they do have good vacation time. They do have
good
stuff like
vacation
that.
time. So you still have times throughout the year where it's you get to just totally kick back and chill. This job I'm getting, it's 6 weeks vacation a year plus a week of sick pay.
Yeah.
That's a lot of time off. So yeah, even if you are working say it's not 31 out of 31 days a month, but say you're working 25. If you get that much time off in a year, though, it's not too bad to do for a couple years. Set yourself up, invest your money. I've been looking into some financial stuff, so how to invest into real estate and then stocks and stuff like that. And you work super hard for 5-10 years, and boom. Then you don't have to work so hard, or at least your wife doesn't have to work so hard. Because we were talking about this earlier with a different guy that we know, and a big thing of his is he doesn't want his wife to work. Well,
Yeah.
that's cool, and you think I'm in that boat a little bit too. I don't want Kate to have to go to a regular 9 to 5. I would like to give her the opportunity to do something else. Still work, because I think work's important. It gives you value. It gives you
Money.
sense of accomplishment and money.
A schedule.
Schedule things to do, get up and go. So I don't think any of that's wrong to have, and I still want her to have stuff like that to do, but maybe not working where she works now. But in order to do that, I'm a regular guy. I don't have a lot of crazy skills. I'm not going to get Instagram famous or.
So one of the things that
so.
you're kind of bringing to the surface right now is the willingness to sacrifice and have discipline.
Yeah.
And if you sacrifice and have discipline, you end up with freedom.
Yeah.
And that is a lot of people, they don't get that. They reverse it. They go, I want freedom, and then I want freedom. Like, no. You're going to have a lot of freedom, and you're going to become in bondage because you're never going to get anywhere. You're not going to move forward. You're not going to get any traction. You're going to be frustrated. You're going to have kids. You're not going to have anything to share with them, any time to share with them. You've got to step into a place where you're willing to live sacrificially. You're willing to sacrifice some things now and approach that in discipline every day, and still be committed to be a good dad, good husband, good church member, good community member. Do all those things. And again, people will say you can't do all that.
You can though.
You
So,
can,
like right now, right?
You can. I know a ton of people that do it. Your mom and I have done that for years. And I'm sorry, you can say you don't want to.
Yeah.
That's a valid statement. You don't want to. Great.
Yeah.
You don't want to, but you can't say you can't because there's too many people standing around here. Again, our grandparents did the same thing, and worked super hard and didn't have all the luxuries of social media and phones
And you're not
everything
missing
else.
out
But
on a lot either. That's where, like, especially with technology today, you're so connected to everything. It's not like you're missing out a lot, right? So I think like 3 weeks ago, me and Aiden had a week, and I work at a different job than Aiden too. So I have one extra job in this week. He's working at getting there. He's about to jump on the same job as me, but during this week, we were running our regular 9 to 5 during the week. Then I had my
if you wonder
weekend
why they're
work.
working odd hours and swing shift, it's male exotic dancing kind of a thing. So
Yeah.
We get paid a lot though.
We're too sexy for our shirts.
And sweaters.
But so it's okay. So I had this week where I was working my regular 9 to 5, my weekend job, which is a graveyard shift, and then we probably put in, I want to say 20 hours doing some other work we had going. So that week was like an 80-hour work week, right? But I didn't feel like I missed out on anything that was going on.
Yeah.
I was tired
Yeah.
when I got, but man, you sleep so good when you're tired.
Yes,
that's
you
another
do.
thing that's another thing that a lot of men miss. You're supposed to be tired at the end of the day. You should fall into bed and go to sleep.
Kate's been saying it recently. She's like, you just come home and you get in bed and you're asleep in 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It's yeah, it's awesome.
It
is.
Because I just knock out.
Men should go to bed tired. That is a rule. That is a rule.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of, you say you're not missing out on anything. A lot of people think they're missing out on is their time,
Yeah.
so they get home and they drink 3
That's
or 4
what's crazy
beers.
though,
Or they,
is because I've been watching a couple things and just this one guy I watch on YouTube. I can't remember his name right now.
Probably best that you don't use it.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, we'll go with that. It's not good end to use it anyway. But I was watching his stuff, and it's if you bust your butt and work hard, and you can save say, it was $2,500 a month for the next 5 years. You could this way, and he had a full laid out plan that worked for him. Because
Mhm.
in 5 years he was a millionaire.
Yeah.
All right, if you could double or triple that, and then keep doing that, and just kind of follow the basic plan, when opportunities come up to you, hop in them and stuff like that. Then later in life, you wouldn't have to be sacrificing any amount of time, have all this income coming in from different things, being able to devote yourself to something like you do now, where you're focused on the church a lot, and then you're still working, so you still have a definitive sense of purpose.
Yeah.
But you have passive income coming from all over the place.
Yeah.
Then you don't have to worry about any of that crap.
Yeah.
And your wife don't have to work, or her job could be, handling some small business stuff or whatever the thing is.
Yeah.
People don't see that, and it's you can sacrifice the next 10 years of your life and chill for the next 65.
Why's it got to be a small business when it's your wife, man? It can't be big business?
I mean, that's up to you. You want to run a big business or not? I mean, that's entirely up to you. I just,
big business equals more taxes.
yeah.
All right. What about you?
I don't work as an exotic male dancer. So I don't
Sadly.
I don't have that going. No, I mean I'm in a similar spot to Aiden, where I'm getting married later this year. I'm 31 though, so I got the full decade on the kid. I'm just there's a truth to that. And so I run an online ministry right now, and then I serve at our church. And
Hey, we've never mentioned your online ministry real quick, so can we do that? I know we've never done that, so go ahead and do that.
yeah, I run fit.church and or fit church. It's fit.church because that's the URL that you go to. And my dad and I were both on Biggest Loser again about a decade ago, and we lost a lot of weight, but we had a real journey that came with a lot of emotional healing as well. And so we run a ministry that emphasizes those two things, and we recognize health is a consistent journey. So yeah, I spend most of my time focused on that ministry and ministering to people all over the country and even Canada, and so there is this push of again trying to figure out what the next steps of life end up looking like. Again, getting married. I'm moving and getting married, not just one state over, but most of the country over. It's 1,800 miles.
He's moving to the flyover territory.
Yeah, that territory that we all forget about. But that's awesome.
It's awesome.
It is awesome. But yeah, so it's trying to figure out how does this supposed to work? What are these next steps? Having conversations actually at your kitchen table about what buying property and how soon to do that, and what is too soon, and how much should I be taking on, and do we leap right now and trying to figure out where we land, or are we trying to play it a little bit safe? Because I tend to be a more play it safe guy, where I want to take those trudging steps as I get up the mountain, and yet I think part of what I'm even seeing right now is maybe it's the right time to just take some really big leaps in the process. So that's what I'm wrestling with through all of it.
I think too, one of the things that you're in a little bit of a different neighborhood is you have a different maturity, and that is in part your age. Also, the gal you're marrying, Jamie's great. She has a different maturity, and again, that's age. And so you not only have the opportunity to take some bigger steps and some more, make some bigger shifts. I think you almost have the responsibility to try it, to give it a try. You guys have again, you've learned a few things in life. Jamie's got a good job. You're moving out the other end of the country, and you're going to be establishing yourself. And so, if there's an opportunity to take something, I think you kind of you've proved that you can handle a few things. So why not take a big bite?
I mean, I agree with that. And what's interesting though is I'm also, and this may be some of the either maturity or wisdom, or maybe I have a false sense of both of those things. But
I'll let you know if you do.
Thanks. But I'm also looking at things and I'm realizing, there may be some pitfalls here. Like there may be some things that I'm gonna walk into. One of those being, again, we've talked about buying property, but I know that one of those future things that's probably in the 2 to 5 year zone, it's like, I really think I'm going to be planting a church. I really feel that in my heart. I don't know if that's the spot. And so I'm now looking at buying property in the middle of a time in our history where I think inflation's going to go crazy. Yeah. And so am I now burdening myself with that property in a location that I would not necessarily be looking to plant a church in? And is that wisdom? And I don't know. Like that's one of those things where I'm like, okay, God, like if this opportunity's here, how do I not do this? And I need that reassurance almost to not take that.
Let me reassure you. Historically, historically buying property, you never go wrong. So, that I think God gives you, kind of a buffet in front of you. He approves of you. A lot of people, they'll think, man, I got to get a hold of God. God's got to tell me if I should buy this car, if I should go to that college. God needs to tell me if I should marry that person. And there are some, certainly, life's decisions that we want to be prayerfully approaching. But to think that God is going to say, no, I want you to buy this exact thing every time you do something, or go this exact place every time. No, God has actually given that authority to you to rule. I mean, it's really clear that in Genesis 3 Genesis early 3 or 2, where man is given a mandate to go out and build and create and subdue. And so I think, again, getting that green light from God, you can move out, you can do those things, and he's going to be blessing you along the way. And to not be hesitant about that. I think you're going to do a lot better if we averaged it out. You're going to do a lot better being the guy that says, no, we're pulling the trigger on that,
Yeah.
than being hesitant and going, well, let's see if maybe. I think, every once in a while you're going to have something come up and bite you in the butt. But along the way, if that's your general approach, I think God really does. I think I can show you in Scripture, God really does bless that approach, that industrious, forward-moving, forward-thinking approach. So don't ever be shy about that. Don't be afraid of that at all. And like I said, you've been given the tools, the maturity, the right woman, everything to do that, and just, plant that flag and go.
And in a lot of experience in life, like this is something I was talking about when you said that earlier, when you said leap or play it safe. And like in my experiences, like every time you like take that like jump off the cliff into something crazy, like that's when things start moving at like an exponential rate. Like you may have already been moving before.
The ground comes up at you at an exponential rate.
Yeah.
As you fall, because
Until you
gravity,
reach terminal
Yeah.
velocity. Once you reach terminal velocity, then it's the same
Shut
rate.
up, man.
gravity
This
is
is all
the
I'm
saying.
acceleration
This is all I'm saying is that
of the
like
body.
every time like I've taken like a big step in my life, like God like moves everything out of the way that he needs to move out of the way, and it makes it like wide open. And
Well, when you were
it's
younger in
awesome.
life, that was me, because you fell down a lot.
Yeah,
and
well-
you take these big steps, and I'd be like, "Oh crap, get this stuff out of the way."
Yeah, I'm
So-
talking about now. Though.
Yeah, but God backwards dog. So I think that probably yeah, dog. Yeah.
Backwards dog. It sounds like a yoga position and stuff, man. It sounds kind of
That'd be
weird.
downward
you know,
dog.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, imagine the backwards dog though. What's that one look like?
no.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't want to think about that.
All right, so let's chat for a minute though, because here's I'd like to ask you guys then what your misgivings are, what your hesitations are. Have you seen good examples, bad examples? Have bad examples ever kind of caused you to go, I don't know, I don't want to fall into that pit, I don't want to make that mistake, or again felt like, well, that's a great example, but I can't do what that person did? Has anybody kind of landed in that yet, where they're just like, Lord, keep me from doing that? Or
I mean, yeah, like a few times in my life. So like before getting married, I had some, pretty weird things happen to me with a girl I was dating, and kind of like just turned me off to the whole idea.
of women?
Yeah, of women
For a
in
while.
general. Like,
Not that he turned the other direction. He was just
I was just over it all. Like
He
I was
just
just
didn't have a direction.
I was just cool being me. I was floating, and it's not like the healthiest approach to something, but yeah, just kind of turn it off, and you kind of come back around the other way, and then it's like it's awesome once you get back, and like God opens doors and moves things, and we can cater together now. But for a couple years, yeah, I was definitely in that boat of just avoid.
So how'd you get through that?
It's kind of a weird question.
Okay, first
'cause
of all, how did you first recognize that was not a spot, that you were in that spot? That's not a spot. Because we got to talk about how to get over it, because everybody's going to come up against the wall. Everybody's going to come up against a roadblock, an obstacle. How did you know it was a problem? How did you get over it?
Well, I think a couple of things. So, like, people definitely told me some things in my life, like because I was just negative about a lot of stuff, and I had some people speak to me about just I think God really pushed into them, and then talking to me through them, just this is something you don't have to worry about.
Yeah.
Because like say with a girl, right? Like what I was worried about was like that it would happen, like what happened to me would happen again, or that like
All women were like that.
everyone was like that, or that it just was not worth it. Like I don't know like all of the process I had, but it just like it was worse to try than it was worse to not try.
Yeah.
And I think what really got me through it was like a couple people had said some things, and then honestly, part of it was my own feeling like I was just lonely. I think God pushed into my life, and I was lonely, and I felt like it was time to start moving on.
Mm-hmm.
And two, I was like, fighting some things, and just like a time in my life where I was making a lot of dumb decisions, and it like felt like a way to start like getting back on track, like start making right decisions, start like pointing yourself in a direction to
Being
like have this door
purposeful and
open.
intentional.
Yeah. Because I was just wasting time, not doing a whole lot.
I remember walking into your room one night. We were going through that. It was early in the year. We were going through that Daniel fast time, and I always ask you guys, ask friends, ask people at our church, what are you praying for this year? So we're praying as a church, but what are you praying for personally? And you said, I hate women.
Yeah.
And I don't want to anymore. I want to get married. And for a guy, in his, you were 20, you were very early 20s, right? At least.
Yeah, like 20-ish.
And for a guy to say that, I was like, kind of stunned for a second. That's super sad to have been in that condition. You finally admitted being in that condition, but also, helpful and hopeful to go, yeah, and I'm praying about it. I'm reaching out to God. I'm listening to other people, and I'm asking God to change this in my life, and I want to move on.
Yeah.
And it wasn't 4 months later, it was just a few months later that, things changed. So,
and like that's what I'm saying. Like in my life personally, like the experiences I've had, like when you start to take those steps, it's very obvious very quickly if it's the right call, because God like just starts opening doors and moving things so much faster than you would have thought of.
Yeah, and here's
because for
the
those
prayer.
2 years, I literally I did not date a girl. I didn't go out on a date. Like I didn't want nothing. And it, like you said, 4 months later, like that's like really quick.
And here's the prayer that I think the difference in the prayer. A lot of people, they'll say, God, guide my steps. God, help me make a decision. Guide my hand, right? I think the thing that we misunderstand in this statement, we're not praying, God, make me move. You have to have a step for it to be guided. You have to be moving your hand for it to be guided. You have to have some momentum. And that's I think a lot of us, when we expect God to do everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, that's not how this works.
What I pray for in those moments a lot is that God shows me, like gives me clarity.
Yeah.
Like I'll be like, all right, like I'm gonna say I'm moving in a direction. Like this is where I think you're having me go. So I'm gonna start going and pushing towards that way, and give me clarity on either opportunity, or if a door opens, if that was you, or if it's something trying to distract me, because I think that's where like, yeah, you're like guide my hand. Like that's a great prayer, and like yes, please guide my hand in what I'm doing, but like make it so I know what I'm doing. Like don't just take my hand and move it. Like give me that clarity so I know to take my hand and move it. You know what I mean? Like that's where I think I'd change that a little bit, because it's more like
here's how, like I said, I approach it. I got to go buy a new car. Help me get a good one.
yeah.
I already know. You know what I mean? I already know what I need to do.
Yeah.
I'm already, hey, one way or the other, we're going to have to figure this out. So
Yeah.
that's what I mean by having some
stuff
momentum.
like that. Yeah.
Having some momentum. What about either one of you two?
Me? Okay. I know what I want to say, but can you rephrase the question?
Is Chinese your first language?
No.
There you go. Austin?
Oh my goodness.
Can you please? I want to know what the original question was. I
This
know what
fool's
I'm saying.
eyes looked like, but bro, I
That's
had
not
a
what I
question.
asked for.
So what are the misgivings you would have? What are the hesitations you would have? Are you worried about? Here's me when I was younger. My dad wasn't great. He wasn't a great husband. He wasn't a great dad. And so when I'm thinking about getting married, I'm thinking about having kids someday. I'm like, God, please please help me to not make these mistakes. And so again, I think we can know, hey, this is what I'm gonna do. this is what I want to do. Do you have questions about like, and I really don't want to goof this up.
Well, yeah, definitely. One thing is, at least for me, growing up, going to school, doing all that stuff, you hear since the time you're anymore in freaking kindergarten that by the time you go to college, you're going to have to pick the degree that you want to get so you can get the job that you're going to work until you're 65 to 70 so you can retire. Right? So I have to decide between the ages of 5 and I was 17 when I graduated, 17, to decide what I wanted to do for the rest of my life until I retired. And I know going through high school and stuff, like it freaked me out. And I was super concerned that I wasn't going to pick right, that I wasn't going to pick anything right, whether that was college, job, what state I lived in, whether or not I was out on my own or if I was getting help from you guys or staying with you guys. And I remember going into senior year, I hadn't really applied to many colleges yet, and all my friends had applied into all these different colleges, and I had friends that, you know, all had like 4.5 GPAs. Like,
He ran in a different crowd
Than you?
than most.
Then definitely me.
There's like 10 people in that crowd, dog.
But like they had all applied to 5-6 colleges at this point, and I was still like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm terrified of making the wrong step. And I remember I started to have like anxiety attacks like crazy, and I was starting to get really volatile with everybody. And you, in one of your more
Wait. I'm about to be generalized here. Everybody hold. Okay, go ahead.
No, and one of your more to the point conversations that we've had, you told me that I needed to knock it off and calm down. And so, anyway, decided that college didn't really matter at that point.
Yeah.
Going off, picking the right college, picking the right degree, picking the right job didn't matter because I was 17. I was 16 at the time, honestly, when we had that conversation. I wasn't even 17 yet.
Yeah.
And I remember after that, I was just like, all right, I'm going to COC.
Yeah.
What a horrific thing we do to
Community
kids.
college
No,
for
it
those
is.
of you.
COC is the community college that is in our hometown, and it's a great college, and it's almost ready to be a 4-year university, really. It is an amazing school. But from the time that I was 5, I was terrified that I was going to pick wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, what a terrible thing to do to people. They don't tell you the stories of like the guys that, you know, at 19 went off and fought in a war and then came back and like invented some part of a plane and then worked in a factory for 5 years and then did this for a couple years. Oh, and then now they like, you know, own some big tech company. Like they never tell you those stories. It's like, no, you need to get a job.
And it's you need to go to the right college. You need to pick the right degree. You need to, if you don't pick right now, at this exact moment, your whole life is going to be ruined.
Yeah. And it's not only, no, hold on. It's not only you don't pick right, they actually define the set you're supposed to pick from.
There's tests.
They tell you
when there are a million other things. There are other choices.
They tell you these are your, 65 choices.
Yeah.
If you don't pick between these 65 choices, your life is going to be ruined. And I know that is being taught in every school, everywhere, at every
They make you take a test in
Which
high
is-
school.
educational level.
Which is also, again, being said in that statement. This is what is being said. And if you pick well, you're going to have an amazing life. You could pick a college. You could pick a subject. You guys have had friends. I had friends growing up. And they, they got a degree in environmental biology, and they're not doing anything.
Yeah.
They haven't. Oh yeah, but you can learn how to restore, the wetlands. There's not really a big market for that. I mean, we have a friend that got a degree in theater lighting, and paid like $120,000. You're like, or you could have just gone to work in a theater.
Yeah, and done lighting.
I mean, it's stuff like that. And again, I'm a big fan of micro. I think probably most of us are here. It's simple things. There are so many other choices, and so you don't have to. You can be a tech CEO that didn't go the normal route. You can certainly do that. You can also be a guy who starts his own lumber mill in Montana.
Yeah.
And services a local community and becomes a great part of that community. And though he may not have a private jet, is he a valued member of a community? Is he valued as a family member? Is he productive? Yeah. Isn't that
Yeah.
valuable? Isn't that what we want?
They don't tell you.
Yeah.
They don't tell you this stuff, and they act like if you don't hit that university thing, well, you're just
It's all over.
you're just falling behind. It's like, well, no, that's not the truth at all. And again, there's a big detriment to going to a major university too. There's a
there
lot to work
is.
through in addition to the costs.
Yeah, and with all that being said, when we had that conversation, and I decided that I was just going to go to community college for 2 years, and then decide what I wanted to do. Right. After that day, I was completely relaxed for the next 2 years.
Yeah. Well,
And then during my last semester at COC is when COVID hit, and so everything got crazy again. But I remember just hearing the stop it, calm down. Your life's not a mess. Your life's not going to be a mess. Trust in God. He'll take care of you. And it took all of that worry and that anxiety and the thinking about what I'm doing today is going to affect the rest of my life. And it is still going to affect the rest of my life, but it's not the major.
Those decisions could have also affected the rest of your life in a very negative way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's learning to calm down, stop thinking, which I have a hard time doing, but stop thinking and just sit there in silence and think. But don't think by yourself, pray and think with God, think through it with God, because I could not have made the right decision. I would probably have been in some weird college at some weird state, and
You would have hated it, man.
I would have. I probably would have gotten in so much trouble with the
professors
and the other people there telling me that I'm racist because I love to argue and I love to make fun of people. And I wouldn't be surprised if I got into a few fights with some people over that kind of stuff, especially in the last few years. You see all these people going nuts and getting in these riots on college campuses.
So you don't have any of these fears in relation to getting married? Because I think at least, not within this room, maybe Austin does. But yes, not with, between me and Aiden, we get told this all the time. At least I was when I was getting married because we're so young, at least by today's standards. I don't think
I
we're
think he
that
just
young
called
at
you
all.
old. I think is what happened.
No.
Straight up old.
Yeah, that's what he
not
said.
Straight
super
up
old, but
Yeah.
kind of.
The super old kind.
Well, I mean, we talked about it.
But that,
good to have friends.
those were the things that, I would worry about and, Aiden would worry about. Getting married, and we would talk about it, I wanted to find a girl. But the actual, intention of getting married, there was no worries there once it started to open the path. Because, and that's what, the difference is, I think, right? Because, with that, there was just a bunch of open-ended questions. And with getting married, at least for me, and I know with you, it just feels like God's opening the doors and you can see them opening.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Where, with school...
No,
Not that school is not important, but maybe it's not as an important part of life because it felt like nothing was ever happening. It was just a waste of time.
So again,
not.
let's. I think sometimes you got to stop and you got to define something real quick. School is important. Major universities are not the only school,
that is true.
right?
Yeah.
So are you on a path to learning? Are you on a path to growing? Are you going to school? Are you constantly? Yes. Do you need to be at, again, and say Georgia Tech, that was one of the schools that you thought about going to, great school. But do you need to be there to do, there's so many people that go, again, that's a specific route, but it's not the only route to being educated and to growing and to, so that's another thing that I think we really need to Austin?
You were worried about getting married?
I was more worried that I would never get married.
But
Me too. Yeah. I was
But I'm talking
whoa.
about more in the process of now that you are getting married, 'cause there's a lot of people that straight up freak out about having someone else attached to them. And even when I was getting married, people would come up to me and be like, so, my advice when getting married is like the hardest thing you're going to have to deal with is just like knowing that someone else depends on you for their time and like that you have to share your bank account. And like to me, it was like that seems like the easy part, man. Like that's automated. It's done by a computer.
Whenever
I
I
don't
hear
think about
people
it.
give marriage advice like that, I always think like, man, I'm glad I'm not married to you.
Yeah, like seriously.
Right?
Wow, that's how you see marriage? Like, yeah, some weird stuff.
Well, and I think for me, I'm in the same spot as you, but I had a great set of parents that have always been together, are still together.
They come in twos.
Parents, yeah,
Parents.
Plural.
pair, yeah, that's good.
Plural twice.
Plural twice. But you have, yeah, I know. I had those two great examples. So the whole checking account thing, like, easy. It's an easy comment for me. It's an easy. It actually rules people out. It's like, okay, if you're not willing, well, it's not, okay, you're obviously not the
right.
right
It
person.
makes it easier. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, you're crazy then. See ya. Like,
Yeah.
daddy issues.
Yeah, so I don't have those concerns. And I found someone who's incredible, and so I feel like we're in a really good lockstep. What is going to be weird is we've never lived in the same spot, and so even when we spent time together, probably Christmas being the time that we got the most time together. I mean, we got 2 weeks together, and we went everywhere together for those 2 weeks, but that's the chunk that exists. So there is that one thing of like, is she gonna get super sick of me? Like, is my dad humor? Because I have dad humor, even though I'm not a dad. And
Can we have an example of dad humor, please?
No. Okay, yeah, sure. Can we rewind the tape back to the parents?
Oh, yes, yeah.
But I think that's the kind of thing to me where it's like, I hope that she doesn't just get sick of me, and but that's not something that eats at me every day. That's something that where it's like, you have just like this slip of a moment, and for the most part, I think I'm more apprehensious. Is apprehensious a word?
Apprehend.
I don't-
Now
I
you
don't-
got me saying it wrong.
I don't know. I don't think that's a word.
Okay, well, I'm more apprehensious about about making the wrong move as we start our life together. Because the one thing I don't want to do is I don't want to screw up.
It's civ. Apprehensive.
There you go. So I don't want to. I'm apprehensive of. I love when I do that. I do it often.
We have been educated for anybody who's actually.
Well,
To a point.
to a point.
I think all of us have maybe an AA, right? I know he does. He's
I
got
have it.
I mean, I have
I'm
the
that guy.
equivalent of an
Yeah, the
AA.
equivalent
I
of-
have more than the equivalent of.
Yeah, that I don't mean like an AA.
Yeah,
I mean,
no one handed me a piece of paper
Yeah.
that says you have an associate's.
I still don't have that piece of paper. So
I
have
work
the
for
piece of
myself. I don't
paper.
need a piece of paper.
But you do
I have it because he made me have it.
yeah,
That's right.
I have it because he made me have it. So he doesn't have to have it, but I have to have it.
That's right.
He has the equivalent of.
I don't think he had the equivalent of when he decided that I needed to do it. I think he decided that
did.
I needed to do it before I was
Yeah,
born.
no, he's
Let's
had
get
it for a
back to
while.
Austin's problems, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a lot of them. No, but I that is the thing that I'm most apprehensive of is I just don't want to. Again, I don't want to bite off more than I can chew to start, because I don't want us to start behind the 8 ball. And I think that actually stems from watching my parents deal with crazy debt their entire marriage, from student loans into
So the
a house.
eight ball is the debt. Because I was going to
I was
ask you
very
what that meant.
confused.
Yeah, it was and so that's the thing I don't want to do is I don't want to put us in a position where we're immediately in a really precarious position financially, and we're constantly just struggling to survive. Because I watched my parents for many years have those moments, and then there were some years that God really blessed them as well. So I just trying to figure that one out, and I don't want to let that fear also prevent me from stepping into a place where God's calling me to take a chance and have a leap of faith. So it is holding those ideas in my head that I'm constantly like, God, give me clarity. so I can, because I want to walk in faith. I also want to walk in wisdom. And at some points, I wonder if my faith is greater than my wisdom, or my wisdom is greater than my faith. So I just, I wrestle with it.
Well, and faith doesn't make you stupid.
No.
Having faith does not make you stupid. So you can still have faith and take some risk and chances, again, based on the opportunities that you believe God's putting in front of you, and that is wisdom. So those things definitely go hand in hand. And as you step out in it, so I get it. You don't wisdom. You don't put yourself in debt. So that particular thing. But as the doors open and the opportunity opens in front of you, that's where you got to have the courage to go ahead and step out and move into it. And as far as, and I will tell you this, the idea that like, well, is she going to get tired of me after 2 weeks? Here's the deal is, when you get married, you actually become one, right? You start to create a life as one. That being done successfully, you're creating all new memories, a legacy. So it's like saying, is she going to get tired of herself? No.
It will be funny as you watch that you upset other people that don't have that kind of relationship.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because people that don't have that kind of marriage where, like, they're, like, just always together and chilling, like, if that's the way,
Yeah.
like, because that's the way me and Kate are, and we'll see, like, people, like, and they, like, honestly get mad at us.
Yeah,
like,
I get mad at them all the time. I want to throw up every time I see them.
Because we're just we're never really, like, that far apart.
It's like hanging all over each
Also,
other.
Austin, you got a big mouth. I think you can bite off a lot. I think you can chew a lot.
Clip that.
That's just mean. That wasn't even funny. It was just mean.
He said he was afraid of biting
was
off
just
more than he could
mean.
chew. He's got a big
50
mouth.
minutes. All right, 50 minutes is when he did this.
He got a big mouth. He can bite off a lot. He can chew a lot.
But yeah, I mean, I think that is, walking in faith is wisdom and all those things. So yeah, you see the door of the opportunity open and you'll move forward. Just when you see it, don't be hesitant.
Yeah, and it's usually pretty obvious, I think, too, like, at least the opportunities I've seen come up in my life, where is either, like, am I forcing this and pushing, like, and this is me being stupid, or is this going to work out, And obviously, I think sometimes things just happen and bad stuff happens. You see that in the Bible, like with Job, sometimes things are just testing us, but for the most part.
And every opportunity is a responsibility.
Yeah.
So,
I like that one, too. I clipped that as well.
People don't, I think they see like, oh, I have an opportunity to go whitewater rafting. That's not really what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Again, you're talking about, businesses and starting churches and buying property and a house and stuff like. So again, all those things are the opportunity is to level up in responsibility.
Yeah, opportunity is directly related with responsibility. I think that's a good way to put that.
And that's a position, those are things that God has called you to and ordained you to and for, to become a better steward, to grow in stewardship. And so he's for all that, and again, that's where you can walk in that confidence in that. And I think I know your character enough to know that you're not looking for an opportunity to be like, oh, look, somebody else can serve me, do for me, while I, put my feet up and sit back and do whatever. That's not you. So again, that's where I think you can be excited about that. And again, less hesitant or apprehensive. And
Apprehensious.
Yeah, apprehensious about it. But because you are the guy that's really looking for not just an opportunity, you're looking for responsibility. Mm-hmm. A place to matter.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
You like that?
Yeah, I do.
You do?
All right.
This is the first time we've gotten to see the brothers at the table together, so it is kind of cool to see that moment.
Before the eye just gets gouged out by a pen or something.
A pen that will not stop clicking.
I know.
Sorry.
You know what I wanted to say?
I got
the
this
whole
new
time
fancy pen
that
and
they
it's
were
just, like,
talking
so
about
clicky.
responsibility and all that. With great power comes great responsibility.
What is that even supposed
What
to
are
be
you talking
from?
about?
Nothing. It just you guys are talking
It's
about.
just from nothing.
It's from not. It's from my head. It's the weirdness that's inside me. No, you guys were just talking about the opportunity. with the greater the opportunity, the greater the responsibility. Just made me think of all those stupid things that you hear from movies, in the superhero movies. With great power comes great responsibility.
Well, I
And I
think
think with each opportunity that we get, not that we're getting more powerful, but I mean we're being given more in every opportunity. So, I mean, we have more to take care of.
I think the most frustrated place that you will see people when we talk about people not growing up is when they, in part, level up in life. So they get some kids, or they get married, or they get a job, but they don't see it as a responsibility. They
See it as a
don't.
chore.
They don't see it as a commitment. It's like, oh my gosh, now they want this from me.
Yeah.
You're like, really, dude?
I had
Instead of-
kids, and
instead
now
of-
they want to go to
yeah.
Disneyland.
And
Or
oh my
instead of
gosh, now
seeing
they-
your new job is like,
Yeah.
oh, I get to go do this and like getting excited
Yeah.
about it. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, they really want me to like have to go do.
And I
like,
think we've talked about this
that.
before, and that's where it's it's pivotal that we really fall in love with the process. That every day you get up and it's like, this is me. This is my job. This is where I get to make a difference. I get to be this dad. You know, I get to
Which
get
is
to
funny
lead these
people fall in processes like in love with processes that I don't get. I fall in love with working out,
Yeah.
but you don't like fall in love with being a dad. Like, where is that? Like, why?
Yeah.
Is
How
that's
did that
so
get
strange.
short?
Like,
Yeah.
why?
How did that get short circuited?
Why are you falling in love with like hurting your muscles and like being tired the next day and exhausted but you don't like love your kid.
You don't
Like,
want to pick your kid
that
up
doesn't
and,
make any
and toss
sense
them
to
around
me.
like a rocket
Well, again,
ship,
and I think it's an immature understanding of one of the number one by
I
far.
think it's selfish too. a
By
lot of
far,
it.
number one goal of like most people under the age of 35, to be rich and famous, right?
Heck yeah.
With absolutely no plan of how to be rich and famous,
Yeah.
No skill.
right?
No,
So then they're frustrated because they're not who they want to be, yet they don't want to do the work to be who they want to be,
And they don't appreciate what they already have.
Yeah, and so in the meantime,
And what little work
say,
has actually gotten them.
say it's to be an actor. They never fell in love with the job of being an actor, and they just want to be famous for no particular reason. They want to be a YouTube influencer or some stupid thing.
yeah.
And again, not even that. Not realizing that a lot of those cats work their butt off,
Oh, yeah.
All the time.
and they're always doing something, and so they just expect to be. Here's the problem: they just expect to be valued, and don't want to be valuable.
Yeah.
No.
You actually have to make a difference in people's lives.
And as far as the YouTube thing goes, I know this is really weird, but like the guys that actually devote themselves to that, when they're first starting off, they pretty much quit their jobs when they are broke and are barely hanging along, and they just push and hope that it's going to happen. And if they're not filming something, they're editing something, and if they're not editing something, they're thinking of what else to film. And yeah, I mean, you don't think that gets tiring and scary that you aren't getting paid and you have bills and you need to eat and there is no money in your pocket?
Here is the probably the most oversaid thing you'll ever hear in life. The problem is it's true. Life is short. It's all going to go really fast. The time that your kids are going to be little kids is going to be really short. The time that they're going to be teenagers is going to be really short. The time that they're young men, it's going to be really short, right? This particular opportunity to move forward is going to be really short. It is going to go really fast. And you can either sit around, doing nothing and being frustrated and bitter because nothing's happening in your life, or you can get your butt to work. You can get your family to church every Sunday.
Yeah.
You
On
can
time.
get somewhere on time. You can actually put in the work, and then you get. I had a guy starting out in ministry a few years ago. He's a good friend of mine. He's a good guy, hardworking guy, but he was frustrated because he wasn't getting anywhere. And I said, you just got to commit to the process. And I said, what you need to do, put your head down, do the job, shut your mouth, and do the job. Do all the hard work for 5 years. Then pick your head up and look backwards and see what you accomplished in 5 years. You will have gotten somewhere if you do this. And then look forward again, put your head down, and get back to work for another 5 years. But don't be reviewing it every day going, oh man, I didn't become this and I didn't get to this level and I didn't. That's ridiculous. You can't. You've got to just push forward. And
if you don't, you're just like you said, you're gonna be sitting there. You're gonna accomplish nothing.
yeah, and the only thing you will focus on is the fact that you didn't become that person that you
And-
wanted to become today. When that's a goal that could be 5-10 years out.
And
Yeah.
that's like where I see stuff like that, and I don't get why people are like, why doesn't that scare the shit out of you? Because like that scares me to
To
death.
not move forward.
Yeah,
To be a deadbeat.
yeah. Because imagine, like, okay, you said this one time, like, you get to heaven, and God plays your entire life on a TV screen
Yeah,
for
you
everyone
messed
to
me
watch.
up as a kid.
All right.
Okay,
So
that's
but
been playing in my head
honestly-
Do
since
you
I was
remember me
4
telling you
years
guys
old.
that in
Honestly.
youth group?
honestly, that may be one of the best pieces of advice, because if you live like that is true, that is the scariest thing in the world. Not only for, like, I'm not talking about doing like bad stuff. I'm talking about watching all the time. If you go back and you're gonna watch all the time you sat on your ass and watched TV, watch all the time you sat there and did nothing.
Yeah.
Wasted time, looking at your phone. The idea that there could be a clock one day that shows me how much time you looked at your phone. Like, say God brought that up. Said, this is a running clock of the amount of time in your 80 years that you looked at a cell phone. That's scary.
Yeah.
Because I don't want that number to be big.
And I already know it is big, which is terrifying.
Like, it's already too big now, and I'm 23 years old.
I've been contemplating going to a flip phone for like 3 years now.
Yeah.
The only thing holding me back is Google Maps.
But so what I'm saying is I think if everyone lived that way, that at the end of their life, people are going to look back and see, like, either were you a punk or did you just work and do something and accomplish something? And to have those stories told about you.
Did you live a life of value?
Yeah.
And
Very
here-
rarely are you going to live a life where you didn't have to do anything and people are
Yeah.
going to talk about you when you're gone.
Yeah.
Very rarely. I'm sure it happens. Kim K, you're up there. But, like, she still works super hard, though. I'm
She
just
does.
saying.
You could be a royal. I just want to point
Yeah.
that out.
It could-
So such that this is a very few people.
I know this is hyperbolic because we are humans, but God built the whole earth with everything in it in 6 days,
Mhm.
right? And we're still living here. We're still talking about it. And we're still gazing in awe at the things that he's done. You want to live to 115.
115.
I don't know how old I'm going to be. I got a lot of years.
I take a lot of vitamins.
You do. I got a lot of years, and I know I'm not God, and I know I can't do what he did, but I want my years to count for something.
Yeah.
If he could do, and again, he's God, so it's hyperbolic, but in 6 days he could do something that I'm gonna throw out a number, 12,000 years to 50. I don't know. Okay, I'm not a theologian or a historian or anything, but we're still. I look outside and it's like, this is beautiful. Hopefully 30 years after I'm dead, something I did is beautiful.
Yeah.
If the closest we can get to a real tree are those cell phone looking trees, we're just never going to get there, guys.
Yeah.
I just want to point it out. I just want to point it out.
But and you're saying something that's like it's not wrong to want to be great.
No,
As long as
it's good.
it's not about you and it's good.
It's good.
To want to be remembered, to want to leave your mark on the earth within your family or within
What we're talking about is
greater
legacy.
spaces. Yeah, legacy. It's not a bad thing
Yeah.
to
What's
want that.
your legacy? What kind of when you're gone?
Because I think people also they get caught up in that, like, well, it's not supposed to be about me. It's about the name of Jesus,
Yeah,
which it is.
it
And I'm
is,
not
but
saying
that's
it's
why
not-
you work hard.
But exactly, and that's
Yeah.
why you can still want your name to be said, and you can still want, like, you said this in sermons before. When you get to heaven, you can still want the benefits that you worked for, because this life is work, and you are going to receive.
Bible
stuff
talks
for that.
about rewards and crowns for works.
Yeah.
People say works aren't important. That's not what Scripture says. But there is being saved. Some people are what he's talking about. This is being saved, and that is entrance into the door. Basically, you being saved, you will spend eternity in heaven with Jesus. But then there's also specific rewards and crowns that are given to people because of what they did, specific works. And what again, my thing is it's not only Absolutely. Do I want to be valued? Do I want to be in that position? Absolutely, I do. First of all, I think Jesus is worth it. He's worth not more than me just saying, okay, just save me and take me to heaven. No, he's worth serving. He's worth serving. And the family he's given me, the church he's given me, the friends he's given me are worth serving and making an impact in their life. And I have thought about that for years. Probably in my high school years, certainly my entire adult life, is that what is going to be said at my funeral? And I don't mean, and see, I joke about it being at 115 years. What if my funeral was when I was 25?
Yeah.
Is it just, oh man, he was a cool guy. He was a great guy to hang out with. He was always so funny.
Or do you want
those are nice things.
Accomplish something.
Yeah, those are nice things.
Yeah.
But they're said about everybody who dies. I had the greatest smile ever. He was so nice. That is said about everyone who dies, unless they're a total psychopath, right?
They might have a good smile.
And again, I'm sure people are wonderful and they pass away and they have friends that love them, and so they say good things, and I get that. But I actually want I want to die someday and have people scratching their head like, well, now who's going to do this?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. When I die, I want people to look around and be like, all right, and we've said this about Mom, right? This is one of the funniest jokes we said about Mom, is that if Mom died before any of us, we're totally screwed.
Yeah, we don't know what's going on.
I want people to say that about me that maybe not even are related to me. You know, because my mom,
it'll take us 2 years to figure out what she did.
She is the keeper of the paperwork, the insurance, the bills, she has a job, she makes good money, like she's done all this stuff.
Took me 3 years to get my birth certificate from her.
And so 3
years.
So she's gone, we're all screwed. Well, I want people to say that about me about anything though, that I'd be affected in job, because and this is the weird thing is recently we had a lot of death happen around us. We had this dude die at work the other day. And not at work, but he died, and he worked with us. He died in a car accident. And I think one of the saddest things to realize about what he was doing, or what these jobs specifically we have now, because they're kind of dead end jobs, they're just
the
accomplishing
job,
much. It's been a month. Nothing's different.
It's been almost 3 months.
It's just moving on. See, but that's what I'm saying. 3 months. So he has a few close friends, but the way that it functions, the way that everything moves and runs, and the day to day, it's the same.
The city was back up and running the next day.
Yeah, it's the same. The job, yeah.
You can't stop for one person, and especially not that kind of person. But I knew him. I worked with him closely.
So then ask yourself this question. I want you all to answer this question. You may want to answer it before you hear somebody else say it, because I would like to hear your independent answer. So who is it that really matters? How do you decide who matters and what they're going to say about you and what they're going to think about you, and who is it that actually matters? And I'm going to ask Austin first.
When it comes to who matters, I have to go in the same order I would go when it comes to kind of my priorities list. And so there's God, and then there's my going to be future wife, and then my kids, and then the rest of my family. You start to go through that kind of categorization, because I think God, while he's called me to be a pastor and he's called me to do some industrious type things, and I think God's calling me to be a husband first, and then he's calling me to be a father, and then he's calling me after that to be a friend and a pastor and a mentor and all of those other pieces. But yeah, that to me, those are the voices that matter. If my wife in the future cannot say a good thing, I have failed utterly as a human being. And if you're watching this and I was bad, I'm so sorry. I don't know what went wrong, but it was probably the blooms.
Yeah. What about you guys?
So obviously God's first, and then your family. But I think of it as, if you push to be the best in who you are as God, I think everything's obviously going to fall into place. But who I think about is Pop.
Mm-hmm.
And
You have to explain to people
I
who
know.
Pop is real quick.
Pop is my great grandfather, is my dad's grandfather, is my dad's dad's dad. So he became a pastor at 17.
May have been earlier than that. He started his first church at 17.
And so what I've been thinking about for like the past 10 minutes and kept trying to say before y'all kept cutting me off.
Ooh, got some issues to talk about next time.
Ooh. Was when we were working down at Snapchat and we took a picture in front of his building.
So we were in Venice, California, and that's where he started his first church, and we walked up to it.
Yeah. And I'm sure it looked nothing like it did in 1944.
Yeah, it was.
It was near the end of the World War.
Yeah, it was
end of World War II.
in the
right?
later half of the World War II. Yeah.
Right. Looks nothing like it. It is opaque white glass that is all futuristic and honestly looks awful. But it had a number on it, and that number was the number that his building had on it, on the same street. And that was like the coolest thing.
Yeah.
How many people did he have show up to his funeral?
About 850.
So, I don't know. I'm way too emotional. But that's
Just do this. Go.
it doesn't
Okay.
help.
Okay.
No. I mean, he started to make an impact when he was probably what, 10?
He got saved when he was 6. He started breaking into the church he went to probably by 8 or 9 years old and started preaching from behind a pulpit to an empty church.
Yeah.
So they gave him a key. And so,
Yeah, I mean, so I'm behind the ball on that, but
breaking into churches.
yeah. I've been kind of far from our home church when I was a kid. You know, we live 50 minutes by freeway away.
Yeah.
But I know he was like the best husband and the best father and the best grandfather.
Yeah.
And out of that, he became the best pastor and the best friend.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm hoping for.
But when you ask that question of who matters, though,
Everybody.
That's what he's
Yeah.
just go ahead and answer, and we'll kind of dissect this a little bit.
but yeah, that's what I was. That's where you're saying there's not one individual. It's that at least when you used to say someone like Pop or you, like I think people they're drawn to you guys because you make them feel like they matter. So everyone matters. And in everything that you're doing matters, and I think that's what we're all kind of getting at right now.
Mm-hmm.
And the conversation of where it's led the whole night is that you should be scared, not of life, but of missing out on life. And you should be pedaling like you're on a slope, and at the bottom of the slope there's a giant pit of death. And you should be pedaling so hard to get away from the giant pit of death.
Sounds like a place from The Princess Bride.
What is it? The forest? Was it the swamp fires? Is that what it is?
Yeah. And then pedaling looks different too. It's not the same for everybody, but that
Yeah.
you have to start pushing towards something. It's like with Pop, he was 17 when he started a church. He prayed 2 hours a day. But there was real devotion and all of that. Like some people might think like, you hear some people talk and it's like, oh, that just means you just hung out for like 2 hours a day. Like, no, I'm sure he was like sweating and like
No,
jumping
he
up and
worked.
down and running around praying
Well,
for those
no,
2 hours.
not entirely like that. No. But no, he worked every day. He actually worked jobs, and he again, they sacrificed. The first church they started, they ate cornflakes because they had no money. They ate cornflakes for 12 weeks straight. That was the only meal they had for 12 weeks. So they did things like this that kind of established their willingness to sacrifice to get to the goal line. And then after, again, just setting that pattern throughout life, raising kids that way, bringing friends into your life that way, raising churches up that way, raising other Christians up that way. God is continually blessing them, as they go through all those years, and my grandfather and my grandmother both. And it's funny because Pop has now been passed away 20 years. And it's not just us that is having this discussion. I still
about, like, he's
around
still,
town. I mean,
and he's still
yeah.
in charge of things.
Yeah,
like,
around town,
like,
people they'll hear your last name and they're like, "Oh, are you Bob Bloom's grandkid or son?" Or you're like, "Yep." And so again, that's just it. There's other people that have other legacies. We know, good friends of ours at the church, or their last name is Northrup. Well, their grandpa's Jack Northrup, which look it up. There's great stuff there too, but I'm talking about on a personal level. When it came to Pop's life, here's what I'll tell you. Maybe we'll wrap up with this, but one of the things that we did at Pop's funeral, probably about, I'd say 3 to 4 weeks before he passed away, he preached a sermon, and in it he talked about Jesus's earthly father, his stepfather, basically his adopted father was Joseph. And it says that Scripture tells us that Joseph was an honorable man. And Pop said in the sermon, he goes, "Someday when I pass away, I want that said at my funeral, that I was an honorable man." And it's funny because at his funeral, my brother-in-law, James, came to me and he said, "Do you remember him saying that a few weeks ago?" Well, I pulled up the church tapes. We pulled it out. And at his own funeral, we played his words. This is what he would want you to remember about him. I was an honorable man. And he was. And not only did we say that about him, now for 20 years, what have we been doing? We've been honoring him. But this is how that life happened. He got up every day and he lived faithfully, honestly, and faithfully. Doesn't mean he didn't make mistakes. He certainly made mistakes. He certainly did. But honestly and faithfully dealing with those, pursuing what the Lord had for him, sacrificing to get there, taking full responsibility when he did wrong or when he sinned, when he made a fool of himself or anything like that. He would say this. He'd just throw himself on the mercy of the court. And just, I have done this, horrible thing. I have done something. I had my grandfather call me one night after church, and he got short with me at church. And I said something to him, and he got short with me, kind of bit back at me. We didn't have cell phones then. My phone was ringing as I got home. It was an evening service. I got home. It's probably 9 o'clock at night. My phone's ringing. I picked it up. My grandfather. And he said, "I need to apologize to you." I was like, "I am the last person you need to apologize to." I'm like, "For Pete's sake." I mean, it's a Sunday. It's 2 services, long days. And he goes, "No, I got short with you." I said, "It's totally fine." He goes, "No, it's not." He said, "I shouldn't have spoke to you that way, and I'm sorry." And it was just short. He didn't even say, anything too nasty or anything. He was just short with me. And I've never, it became, again, the greatest example to me of how to be a father, how to be a husband, and to be humble. Again, and so the picture that forever has sat in my head is 850 people at his funeral, that there were 20-some pastors there that became pastors because of his example. They actually stood up and said, this is why I'm in the ministry today. There was city council members. There was people that there was a gal there that she got pregnant without being married, and she thought she was going to be, thrown out in the street. And he's like, he befriended her and was like, no, we love you. You're not going anywhere. And other stories about how, again, the guy in whatever walk of life that he befriended and showed grace to and kindness to, and again, just being all the time, the whole while being funny, doing funny things, being hysterical, being warm, having a great laugh, being excited about life, encouraging other people, pushing them forward. He loved to push other people forward. He loved to see, oh, you want to do something? Okay, let's push you forward and make a big deal out of you. Love doing all those things. And so that's been my greatest example. And when I look around that room of 850 people, because you talked about this first, the most primary person, his wife is sitting in the front row, and then all of his children are sitting there. Then all of his grandchildren are sitting there. Then all of his great-grandchildren are sitting there. Then you got people in his church. The people that knew him best wanted to honor him the most. That's the legacy I want. Is again, and I believe in being that person in the community and changing the world and all that kind of stuff. But if the people that are closest to me, that I have been given the responsibility to steward as a father, as a husband, or as a friend and a pastor or anything like that, if those people honor me, I win. And so I'm not asking for them to honor me. I want to do things that are honorable,
Yeah.
And so
it's like
that's
it's like a point to see if you're winning or not, right? Like,
yeah.
if people are doing that, then like, all right, maybe I'm doing something right.
And one of the ways that you'll see around you, just if you want to gauge what's going on a little bit, or at least ask the question of yourself. I don't know if you can ask everybody else, but are the people around you doing what you do?
Yeah.
Because if they value what you do, they start to mirror you, just like they would with the Lord. They value the Lord, they mirror the Lord, right? Your children value you, they mirror you. Your friends value you, they mirror you. It's a way of offering praise. It's a way of offering again a thank you, is to be like you, and so one of the great joys of my life has been, and again I saw this in my grandfather. We all speak very honorably of him. His entire family's in ministry. It's like, that's the greatest way to honor him. And again, the great joy of my life is I love to serve and I love worship and things like that. And there's times I'm just working hard. I don't kind of know what's going on. I'm just working. And every once in a while I will look up and I'm like, oh, look, somebody's working with me. And I had a pastor come up to me. We had done a youth camp. And we had a great worship team with us, a lot of guys. It was all guys at the time, maybe one or two gals. But so there was some of them weren't married yet, so girlfriends were there and things like that. Some of their fiancés were there, and then my wife was there, and a few other people. And as we finished up this youth conference, everybody in the band and everybody that was around me just started working and putting things together and laughing with each other and rolling up cables and taking apart truss and doing everything we do. And a pastor walked up to me and he said, how do you get them to do that? And I said, get them to do what? There was like 20 people just working away, girlfriends, like carrying stuff. And I kind of sat there for a second and it kind of surprised me. I went, look at all them people working. And then I just looked at him and I said, I never thought about it, but I guess it's because it's what I do. And here we had all these people, including, kids in my youth group over the years, things like that, that would just reflect what I do. To me, that's the greatest honor. Do what I do. And that's certainly going to show up in the way you guys are husbands. That's going to show up in the way you guys father your children, to honor those good examples. So anyway.
All right. I like it. It's a good episode, guys. If you're out there, make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button. The Kitchen Table, Kitchen Talk Tuesdays. We're on Spotify, YouTube, and
Are we still trying for Apple?
I think it's up, but
We will double check.
I will double check. So next time we will know for sure. Make sure you hit, like I said, that subscribe button. If you're in the SoCal area and you're looking for a church or you just want some more sermons to listen to, just look up missionchurch.us.
On YouTube and Facebook as well.
On YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Don't look up Twitter. It's dead.
Should we give another Austin plug?
An Austin plug.
The Austin plug was...
The Austin blog. It's fit.church, and that's the website, and it's just emotional and physical wellness as a community, supporting one another and encouraging one another.
And it's you
Awesome.
and your dad, right?
Yeah, myself and my dad. And
Your dad's name is?
he is Ken Andrews. He was a pastor and is a pastor.
He is a pastor.
in what we do, and
He was brave enough to hire me and pay me years ago to be a pastor. So
Oh yeah.
a virtuous and wise man.
true courage. True courage.
Have
True
a good
grit.
night. Have a good day. Peace.
right.
Let's go eat some burgers.
It's gonna get wild.